Welcome to our channel. In this video, we will be discussing a truly inspirational figure in world history, Oskar Schindler. Who exactly was Oskar Schindler? What was his life story, and what made him so significant? Let's watch this video until the end and discover the answers. On April 28, 1908, in Svitavy, Moravia, Oskar Schindler was born, a native German and a Catholic. After graduating from a succession of trade schools in Brno, Schindler worked for his father's agricultural equipment company and married Emily Pelzel in 1928. In 1938, he joined the Czechoslovak army and was promoted to reserve lance corporal. He purchased Record Limited, a Jewish-owned enamel company, in November 1939, taking full advantage of Germany's annexation policy. He renamed the company Oskar Schindler's German Enamelware Factory, or Emalia. By increasing production numbers, Schindler maintained his business's status as a munitions factory. As a result, about 1,000 Jewish people were saved, and they were spared from the brutality and cruelty of conventional camp life. Currently, the factory houses 2 museums. Schindler arrived in Krakow in October 1939 for a ware business and rented an apartment the following month. In November, he was introduced to Itzhak Stern, an accountant who advised him to buy or lease a bankrupt Jewish-owned ceramic factory, Record Ltd., instead of running it as a manager under Haupttreuhandstelle Ost, main trustee office for the East, which would give him more freedom from Nazi orders, including the freedom to hire more Jewish workers. With financial support from several Jewish investors, including Abraham Bankier, Schindler signed an unofficial lease agreement for the factory on November 13, 1939, and officially sealed the deal on January 15, 1940, by changing its name to Deutsche Emalwarenfabrik, German Enamelware Factory, or DEF. Schindler's relationship with Abwehr and his connections in Wehrmacht and the Armaments Inspectorate enabled him to win contracts to produce ceramic cookware for the military. Schindler also helped run Shlomo Wiener Ltd., a wholesale company that sold its ceramic goods, and became a tenant of Prokossener Glasschut, a glass factory. In 1944, DEF had about 1,750 workers, 1,000 of whom were Jewish. Initially, Schindler saw profitable business potential in hiring Jews because their wages were cheaper than Polish workers. However, he eventually began protecting his workers by any means necessary, and his factory became an important business for the war effort. Schindler was able to protect his Jewish workers from deportation and death by demanding exemptions for them and claiming that they were needed mechanics and metalworkers. When Governor-General Hans Frank issued a decree in August 1940 requiring all Jews in Krakow to leave the city within 2 weeks, Schindler's workers were among the few allowed to stay because they were directly involved in Germany's war effort. The workers had to walk to and from the Krakow ghetto, where they were forced to move. In the fall of 1941, the Nazis transported Jews out of the ghetto and most of them were killed at the Belzec extermination camp. On March 13, 1943, the ghetto was liquidated and those who were still able to work were sent to the new concentration camp in Plasso. Schindler, who knew about the plan, instructed his workers to stay overnight at the factory to protect them. After witnessing the liquidation of the ghetto, Schindler decided to leave and save as many Jews as possible. The Plasso concentration camp was opened in March 1943 and was led by SS Hauptsturmführer Amon Goth, a sadist who randomly shot camp prisoners. Goth's original plan was to move all the factories inside the camp gates, but Schindler managed to prevent his factory from being moved and even convinced Goth to allow him to build a sub-camp in Emalia to accommodate his workers plus 450 Jews from other factories. Schindler was arrested 3 times on suspicion of black market activities and violating the Nuremberg laws by kissing a Jewish girl, but he was always released through influential contacts in the Nazi Party. In 1943, Schindler was contacted by Zionist leaders in Budapest and went there several times to report on Nazi persecution of Jews. He also returned funds provided by the Jewish Agency for Israel and handed them over to the Jewish underground movement. In July 1944, the SS evacuated prisoners from the easternmost concentration camps to Auschwitz and Gross-Rosen. Schindler was informed by Gotha's personal secretary about the Nazi plan to close his enamel factory and other factories that were not directly involved in the war effort. Schindler managed to convince officials to allow him to move his factory and workers to Brunlitz, saving them from death in the gas chambers. In October 1944, 1,200 Jews consisting of Schindler's workers and prisoners from other textile factories were sent to Brunlitz. In January 1945, Schindler brought 250 Jews from Poland to Brunlitz. Schindler also arranged for the transfer of 3,000 Jewish women from Auschwitz to a small textile factory in Sudetenland. Schindler continued to bribe SS officials to prevent the massacre of his workers as the Red Army approached. On May 7, 1945, the war in Europe ended, and Schindler and his workers listened to the announcement at their factory. After World War II, Schindler and his wife Emily settled in Regensburg, Germany, until 1949, when they immigrated to Argentina. In 1957, Schindler permanently separated but did not divorce from Emily, and he returned alone to Germany. Schindler died in Germany, without any money and almost unknown, in October 1974. Many of those whose lives he saved, and their descendants, lobbied and financed the transfer of his remains for burial in Israel. In 1993, Yad Vashem awarded Oskar and Emily Schindler the title Righteous Among the Nations, in recognition of their efforts to save Jews during the Holocaust at great personal risk. Also in 1993, the United States Holocaust Memorial Council posthumously awarded Schindler the museum's Medal of Remembrance. Rarely given, this medal honors worthy recipients for extraordinary deeds during the Holocaust and in commemoration. That's the inspirational story of Oskar Schindler, a hero who at great personal risk saved the lives of hundreds of Jewish people during the Holocaust. May his story inspire us to do good in our own lives. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.